welcome to episode 8 of the Live Motocross podcast. Hopefully you didn't see that on the video just then, but me and Darren were flagging each other as normal. Joining me today, we have got the Verde Substance KTM rider, Lewis Toombs. We'll intro him in a moment. But first of all, Darren, what have you been doing?
Just really busy at work. More people getting about, that's for sure this week, I think, and everybody's probably noticed that no matter what part of the country you're in. So just busy at work, really, and just itching to speak to this man because he's been on my radar for a long, long time. I've been a full-on signed-up member of the fan club, and just interested to see how he started off, really. So looking forward to this one.
So, Lewis, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, yeah, you're right. How are you doing?
Good.
All good, mate. All good. So, as this starts off, mate, section 1, we like to get a little bit of background about you, and this is what I know quite a lot about you from previous years, mate. What you've done recently and all that kind of thing. But we like to have this part of the episode early on because just to get a bit of background for the listeners out there, where you first started. I know obviously we spoke to Sean Simpson, we spoke to Thomas Covington, all that kind of thing, just to get a bit of background on where you first started, how you fell in love with motocross in the very beginning. So how did it all start off for you then, mate? How did
it start 66? My dad used to race. He was just like an AMCA rider back in Hampshire, where we used to come from. So he used to do that, and I got a Pee-wee one Christmas, crashed it quite a bit. I can remember my mum actually, I wanted to ride, I think it was like 7 in the morning, and I wanted to ride, and she managed to start it for me, throttle stuck, and she was getting dragged across the garden, so that was not a good start. But yeah, I got, like most people, got a Pee-wee for Christmas, started on that, and then obviously just progressed a little bit, started having a bit of fun with it, just riding around like fields and stuff, and just getting into it really. And then Dad bought me a 60, and then went from there. Yeah, I raced local just to start with. I think my first race was at a track called Oswald, down in Hampshire. So I raced down there. I think I got lapped in my first race quite a lot, but really enjoyed it. And then got the bug from there really, and did all my local 65 stuff. And just kept progressing really.
Awesome. What is that on the schoolboy scene, mate? Obviously earlier doors, or when did you start actually physically racing? When was your first race as such?
I think I was about 7 was my first race. I think the club we used to race with was Paul and Parkstone. So we did that club, and then we did Portsmouth Club as well, on the 65s. I think my last year of 65 I started doing nationals, so I would have been about 10 years old then. But from the ages 7 till 9, we just did local stuff. And then we had some really good clubs around our way then, like really friendly. Everyone really got on, and it was just like just more fun, not nothing serious, and really enjoyed it. And that obviously gave me the bug to keep wanting to do it.
Mm-hmm.
What about rivals early on, mate? Did you have anything? We've heard quite a lot on the last few podcasts, haven't we, Soph, about this rivalry going on for all eternity for lots of guys coming up and through the ranks. Anybody that sticks in your mind that you just...
Not really, not early on. Like my last year schoolboy 125s in the British, I had quite a few rivals. David Games was one of them. He was like a Welsh lad who used to go really well. And then Will Warden, we used to battle quite a lot. But other than that, in the early days, there wasn't really anyone for me, because I wasn't like the best schoolboy. I wasn't the greatest, to be honest with you.
Honestly.
Yeah, no, I struggled with it all, to be fair. But like my last year, Big Wheels, I got it together. I think I finished 2nd or 3rd in the BYMX, which it was then, which is obviously the BYN now. I think I was 2nd that year. I had a really good battle with Dan Arnold. He used to go really well back then, so he was quite a good rival as well.
Excellent. Now, Spinksy dropped the big bomber, didn't he? So he won his first ever race, like boom, like out of there. Obviously, not quite as easy for you then, mate, on the first uptake. Then it was a little bit more of a learning curve.
Definitely not.
No.
Oh no, it was horrendous. I can remember it clear as day. We were practicing. I went practicing with my dad on the Saturday, and it was just a pig farm. But my dad's friends had a pig farm, and I was riding around in a field that he had just spare. So I was riding around there. There was no jumps, nothing. It was just a flat field. And then someone who I was riding with said to my dad, "Oh, there's a race tomorrow. You should enter Louis, see how he gets on." And next thing I know, I'm entered in my first race. And we turned up, and back then you used to have to wear the yellow bibs to signal. Yeah. So I had one of them on, about 10 times too big, and yeah, it was. I can't remember the results now, but I can remember like getting off the start line was like the biggest struggle in the world, just letting the clutch out and doing that kind of thing.
Did you crash much, mate? Can you remember crashing on the?
I think I probably had a few, but I can't really remember that many. I was probably going too slow to crash.
So sort of moving forward then, going off the 60 days, how did you progress from there? Did you go on to like 85s, or did you end up going straight into 125s? Like, how did you get on?
Yeah, to be fair, I was quite a small kid growing up, so I was never the biggest lad. So I ended up doing pretty much my whole schoolboy career, like 2 years of small wheel, and I ended up doing 3 years of big wheel. I think I was 16 and I was still on a big wheel 85, which you think about it now, it's madness, because obviously like people like Roxon and Hurlings, they're on 250Fs and 450s like at that age.
Yeah.
And I was still, the more I look at it now, I'm like, geez, I was 16 years old and I was on an 85. We had a special one made like with a big frame and stuff. But I was that small. I couldn't have gone on to a 125 or a 250F because I was that small.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was, I did the whole route through of schoolboy pretty much until my last year, which was a 125 in 2007, and then after that I went adult. So
do you think that you staying down on the 85 a bit longer, do you think that helped you more further on in your career?
Probably. I probably did it the wrong way around. Like I probably should have done 2 years on the 85 big wheel, and then obviously gone 125 and probably done another year of 250F in the schoolboy, because I went straight from 125 to adult NX2, which was was a massive step now. So that's probably where I messed up. But I literally wasn't ready for a 125 that time. I was still so small. So
because we see a lot.
Things have changed a bit now.
That's what I was going to say. We see a lot of kids these days that are like 13, 14, and they're on 125s and that sort of stuff. It's mad how kind of things change and people are kind of rushing to get that progression straight up to the 125s and 250s.
I think the same, to be honest. Like there's never going to be a Roxon and Hurlings again. There's like a one-off. So I see people now like trying to rush through their schoolboy career, like try and take it for what it is, like enjoy it as much as you can and stuff. And I think like riding the 125 is great because you learn so much and it gets you ready for that next stage of obviously riding a 250F or going to the adult rank. So I really like that 125 class at the BIN. I think that's really good. And yeah, it's definitely, I think, something that the people, the ACU or someone, the federation should look at and making it a necessity to do before saying a 13-year-old who's come from a big wheel jumping straight onto a four-stroke nuts.
Yeah.
I think that 125 is like a key step.
Because them boys in the 125 class, they are not slow, are they?
No, definitely not.
Rapid. Some of them, I was watching them at, I think it was Landrake last year when they had the joint round with the Maxis, and they were just running rings around people. I think there should be more, like, I agree with you on that. There should be more done to sort of boost them sort of classes up. Definitely.
But I think you've probably gone about it in a sensible way, mate. Obviously, if you were struggling with your stature and whatever else early on, if you'd have probably jumped on that 125 too early, you'd have probably been more open to crashing, not being able to handle it. And that's when you start getting into that mind frame, or I'm not enjoying this anymore or whatever else. So to me, it seems perfectly sensible thing to be doing. Was that your call, or was it, friends, family to you? No? To
be fair, it was my old man's call. We had this big frame built in Holland. I can't remember what the company was called now, but that helped me massively. I can't remember how much bigger it was, but it just meant that I could stay on a big wheel for that extra year, and obviously be comfortable on it. So I think it was probably the right decision for me. And then my first year at 125 was really good. I don't know, just probably matured a lot and was ready for the 125 then. So I think overall it was probably the right decision.
Yeah, definitely. It sounds like it makes perfect sense to me. Obviously, what is your take on, obviously, so just talking about these youngsters coming through in the 125, you've got the likes of like Carter and Joel Rizzi and stuff like that now, naturally talented, phenomenal more speed. I mean, you obviously watch them from the trackside, mate, on occasions. I mean, do you think that's the next up-and-comers right there, or do you get involved in any coaching bits and pieces? Is there any particular rider that you focus on and thought, oh, he could be one to watch in the future?
Yeah, like we obviously watching the stuff coming through, like at the races you get to watch the MXY2 and stuff, so that's always good. And you can see last year that people that are progressing, like Rizzy looks like he's coming on pretty good, and Ike as well looked really good. But obviously that next step to MX2 is quite big, so you have quite a lot of guys already in MX2 that are similar, like they're a little bit older and they've made that transition. So it'd be interesting to see how those two get on this year, or if there is this year. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And other than I do a bit of coaching here and there. I do a lot with Chris Bastick at Train to Gain. He sorts out a few days and go along and get stuck in with them. But I don't have any like individual riders. I have a few people that I follow. In MX2, there's a young lad called Charlie Cole. He's from around our neck of the woods, who my old man, him and my dad Martin were friends with. He's been in MX2 I think 2 years now, but he goes well, and I always enjoy watching him because he's a really nice kid and try and help him out as much as I can. Mm-hmm. And other than that, there's not so much. There's a young lad who lives in Suffolk, just literally down the road from us, called Will Farrow. I follow him a little bit because he's just started doing the BYN. So I keep an eye out for him and see how he's getting on. So other than that, no, not so much.
Local tracks to you then, mate? Where do you, if you have your choice around from you, where do you normally practice? Or
we're quite lucky actually. We've got quite a few. On a Sunday, if I'm not racing, we have a track called Blytheborough, which is out on the east coast, which is like really good, sandy and gets really rough. And then we have a few. We have Besthorpe as well, which is a good track. Obviously Mildenhall and stuff. So yeah, there's a few to pick from if you're getting out in the week. But yeah, we're quite lucky, to be fair. Everywhere else seems to struggle a bit. So
yeah.
Everyone else seems to be miles away normally, don't they?
Yeah.
Cool. So 2020 then, obviously it's not gone as we wanted it to so far, even just in general in the world, never mind racing. But how have you been getting on that KTM? Because it's a bit of a change around for you, isn't it?
Yeah, it was going really well, to be fair. I didn't get on the bike till middle part of January. We had some problems, so with my little boy, so I didn't get on the bike till the middle of January. But yeah, I gelled with it straight away. AD's like a really nice guy, sound guy, and he'll do anything to help. So that always helps, having a team manager like that. So I got on the bike and did as much as I could, obviously January and February, and started to feel really good on it, to be fair. It's a massive change from the Honda, mm-hmm. which obviously I rode last year. But yeah, things were coming together pretty good. And obviously I haven't rode since the actual day of the British. I went practicing when I got home. Mm-hmm. So I literally haven't rode since then. So I drained the fuel out of my practice bike and disconnected the battery. And then, yeah, I think maybe this weekend I'll start thinking about putting things together and waiting for some tracks to open.
Yeah, that's it. Because obviously,
cool. You just said there.
Go on.
I was just going to say, just going to pick up on there. It's interesting how much different the KTM was from the Honda. Can you just evolve on that, mate? What have you had to really change as opposed to? Is that like the power wise or?
Not so much. Yeah, the power's quite a bit different. Obviously, the Honda had quite a lot more snap to it, a bit more hit. So we've had a bit of engine work done and some mapping done by Multitech, Steve Payne. So he's done a bit of work to the engines, but to be honest with you, the KTM doesn't need a whole lot of work done because it's so good from stock. So he's done a bit there, but mainly just the suspension and getting that right. Mike at Fat Cats has done my stuff this year, and I seem to be reasonably happy at the minute. So I'm pleased with that, and obviously see when we get going again how it feels, because obviously the tracks have changed now. Everything's a lot harder, and there's not so much give. So I'm looking forward to getting back to it actually, and seeing how the bike is, how I left it, and going from there really.
Defo. Obviously we don't know at the moment if we're gonna still get a British. How do you think that's going to go? Because we've had the MXGP calendar the past week been put out, and that is intense from August. Yeah. You've got it all the way through. You've got Russia, and then the next week is somewhere in Europe, I think it was, I saw. How do you think they're going to fit all of that in? Because there's quite a few riders in the British that obviously do both GPs and whatnot.
I don't know, to be honest. I speak to Rick Blythe, who works for the ACU and stuff a little bit. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I can't see them fitting in everything with the GPs. If they want to run a proper series, I know it's only going to be maybe four or 5 rounds. Then mm-hmm. I think that's horrible to say, but let's crack on without the GP boys. We've got good enough riders in our country now. Obviously, Tommy's domestic. We've got Jake, Elliot, Kulas comes over, Van Donik. We've got some really strong riders. Why not focus on ourselves? Our domestic series, and make that as strong as possible. Not try and worry about the GP boys, who I know it's not fair on them maybe, but the current situation and stuff, let's try and focus on our domestic series and make that strong enough, and try and get a bit of a following like the French and the Australian championships do.
We don't know how this is going to evolve this year, and I think it's a big year for the British Championship to evolve. Obviously losing some sponsors last year, and obviously with everybody now with this downtime kind of overthinking, what can happen going into the future. Everybody, trying to gel in together for the betterment of the sport, really. And I just want to put this to you, Lewis, if we can, just from a rider's perspective, really. Yes, you say concentrate on the British Championship, that's great. And to be fair, the Grand Prix riders, they're paid properly, potentially, to ride Grand Prix. So, for me, that's probably a fair statement, which is no bother at all. But if there was a shorter series, whether it be Grand Prix or British Championship, and for instance, you're a very, very good sand rider, you seem to gel well with sand. So if you had Fat Cats, Hawkston, wherever. So what I'm trying to get at is you've got this shortened series and you become British champion. Would you still honour that and think, okay, because obviously people at the very end of the day are going to see 2020 British champion Lewis Toombs, whatever else, knowing that it's a short series of probably 3-4 races. Would you still take that in the same way as like an 8 or a 10 round series? I'm just wondering what your perspective is, really.
I think so. I think like if we get a 4 or 5 round series, then that's got quite a bit of credibility to it, hasn't it? But then I hear things like maybe if we are going with the GP guys, then there's going to be like a 2 weekend double header, and to me that just seems like what's the point kind of thing. But obviously I want to get racing and stuff, but I think it needs to be a bit of logic about it as well. I think if we can get 4 or 5 rounds in, that'll be great, obviously. If something like that, the 2 round thing, then I don't think that'll work, to be honest. But yeah, I think there'll be credibility to it. Obviously everyone's going to be wanting to win and go racing, so and potentially there's not going to be any injuries or anything, so everyone should be there, so it'd be quite competitive, I'd imagine.
I think everybody's just keen to get some seat time on the bikes, aren't they, at the moment? Everybody's chomping at the bit, no matter what championship, what affiliation you are, ACU, MX Nationals, Bridgestone, whatever, AMCA, everybody's just itching to get on the bike, get some seat time, get some racing under the belt. Who cares what guys it's under? They just want to get out there. But I think for us to sit back this year with a shortened series and really take it all in as a whole would be good for the sport moving forward. Yeah. I can already see ACU, AMCA talking to each other now, which is great. Yeah. And I think, once they start, I think this year they've had to think, oh, actually, hang on, this year we need to think about this because you know, there is a saturation point. We spoke to several riders in the podcast in the time. There's a saturation point to riders and affiliations. You all after the same riders. You all want time on a bike. So I think something is going to have to evolve for the better. But like, yeah, so let's just get on the bike and just put it down.
Yeah.
So you've come off a stunning year on the wheelbase Honda. Probably one of your best years to date, I should imagine. I'm a bit of a facts and figures guy, so full out now. But I just want to say to the listeners out there, I mean, I'll read these stats out for you. And look at his frowning now. He's frowning on this thing. But I'm just going to go back 2012, and we're going to talk to this as we're going through. 2012, 9th place MX2. 2013, 9th again in the MX2. 2014, 10th in the MX2. 2015, and you can, this is where you're going to come in, 36th. I think I know what happened there. First year into rookie into MX1. 2016, 9th overall again in MX2. 2017, 8th. 2018, 8th. And 2019, look at him laughing, 9th again.
I know.
How many top 10s? Well, no, I mean, to be fair, I'd be very happy with that. You know,
I know, it's just that 9th, you know, it seems to have stuck with me for ages throughout the whole time I've been racing.
It's like the Kurt Nichol #2 thing, isn't it? You just want to get it off your back, I guess. But and of course, just talking about last year and your how it evolved on the Honda. Obviously, you had your first MX British Championship podium as well at Fat Cats, which, as I say, you've got this affiliation with Sand. What was that like, mate? I know it must have been a monumental experience for you up on that podium for the first time.
It was quite surreal, to be fair. I hadn't ridden the bike much at all. I think it was 2 weeks before, obviously, everything got done and sorted with Dave. Obviously, Jake helped me get the ride. So everything got sorted with Dave 2 weeks before, and I reckon I rode 7 times, 8 times before that first Maxis.
No way.
No way.
Yeah, obviously, and one of those was a race meeting the week before at Sherwood, so I hadn't done a lot of time on it, and I had 2 really good starts, which obviously helped at Fat Cats because the conditions were pretty bad. But yeah, I had 2 good starts, and I just put my head down and kept out of trouble. I wasn't going like silly quick, but I was going quick enough to be in the position I was. Yeah, and you don't really see a third overall on the podium as a 5.4 before, but I was managed to get a bit lucky that day, and you know, no matter how long I've been doing it and how much bad luck I've had, I haven't had stupid amounts of bad luck, but I've had a bit of bad luck here and there. Felt like I finally deserved it, and I was so chuffed and pumped at the time. It was really good. Okay,
so just going off there, then obviously we went through that, and of course you got mixed up in that awful crash with Ryan Houghton as well, mate, at Blacksall, didn't you? And you didn't come out of that particularly well. Just looking back, what was that like, mate? Because I just see the footage now, and it's the scariest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Just you in the midst of it. Just explain, mate, from your perspective, what the hell was going on there?
To be fair, it was one of the worst things I think I've ever been involved in. It's really scary, to be fair. It shook me up for a long time afterwards. And the speed that we went into those woods or into the trees was really scary. And I just remember I come into the corner, and I remember Ryan was on my left, just like normal, and he was obviously going to sweep in. So I started turning. The next thing out the corner of my eye, I just see Tommy's bike just coming straight, and Sean collected him with him. And I was just a passenger. So as soon as that bike collected me, we just all went straight. And I was still on my bike at the time. I hit the chestnut and cartwheeled and straight into the bushes. And I remember getting up, and I was fine, obviously, when I got up, and just ran straight to my bike, got on the bike, and went, not even thinking about anything else. And then obviously you see the stuff afterwards with Ryan, and it really shook me up, to be fair, and it still does now. You still think about it, but I ended up breaking my hand. Obviously, I got away seriously lightly, and I was really lucky. yeah, it's one of those things you don't see that often in the sport, but when you do, it's really nasty.
Yeah.
Don't ever want to really want to ever see it.
No, and as you said, a fickle sport, our motocross in South, and we've spoken injury-wise, mate. You say, and you've been a bit cautious there, but you have had some injuries before in the past that have hampered your career, haven't you? I mean, to come out with such a steady amount of results in the top 10 like you have is credit to you anyway. But I remember watching, I think you, Hawkeston Park, did you break it? Was it ankle or foot, somewhere like that? I remember commentating.
I think one year, that was at Ling. My first year MX1. I DNF'd the first race and bike broke, and then the second race I rode the spare bike and I got round on the first lap in the top 10 somewhere, and I come up to the jump and the bike just stopped, cut out, and I had to bail out, and I landed really awkwardly on my foot, and I broke my navicular. I smashed my navicular into pieces, so I had to have an operation on that. And yeah, I was out for the whole season. Still got a plate in there now from it. I had some metalwork removed, but yeah, that was the worst thing. That was a bad injury because the bone doesn't really get that much blood, and it takes a long time to heal. So I just ended up sitting out the whole year, and then regrouping and coming back for the next season. So. And then I think I dislocated my shoulder at Hawkstone, which was a bit of a nasty one as well. So, I touch wood. I've been quite lucky. And yeah, it's just a bad part of the sport that nobody wants to think about. Really.
No, definitely do not, mate.
Have you lost me again? Are you okay?
No, I'm fine. I was just waiting for you. I thought she's going to itch to ask a question in a minute, so I've been gassing all the time, so I thought I'd just sit back for a minute and let you go.
Oh, you're all right. So moving on to a bit more of a positive note then. What have you been doing to keep busy during lockdown? What's been happening?
My little boy Hudson. So we had him, and he's been flat out. So he's 5 months old now. The first 2 or 3 weeks, obviously when it was really strict, pretty strict, we just stayed at home because obviously I didn't want him to get anything. So we just stayed at home and did a lot of jobs around the house. Had a big old list which I've tried to tick my way through. Other than that, just training and I've gone back to work now. I've been back like 2.5 weeks, so back working, and that's keeping me busy. And then get woken up at night as well, which is mint.
I was going to say, mate, obviously from having my 2 boys, you come home from work sometimes and you think, oh, you're tired. You're not tired. You wait till you have that all night long and whatever else. It's a different level, mate, isn't it? But great as well. As a family now, going to the motocross and stuff like that, it's bound to give you a bit more emphasis on you and your racing and stuff, mate. But do you get involved with the feeding business and stuff like that, mate? As a dad, do you get your hands on that kind of way, or he's looking over his shoulder to make sure nobody? She
did just literally run in.
I can see the fear in your eyes, then, mate.
Yeah. I do a bit during the day, but he's got to the stage now where she's the only one that can settle him sometimes. So Ollie does most of the night feeds. I did quite a lot at the start because it's a lot easier at the start. I didn't think it would be, but I did quite a few at the start. But now he's a bit bigger and stuff. She does quite a bit. So hats off to her though, because every day doing that, it's takes its toll. So
yeah, definitely. Now we've got a big question here, haven't we, Soph? And I'm intrigued to see what you're going to think. I don't know how much time you've spent with him and your teammates so far this year, but obviously everybody knows the legend that is Brad Anderson. And have you had much time to be with him yet, mate? And obviously, big shout out for Dominic Lancet as well, who's another teammate of yours who's been out for injury last year, and hoping he's going to do really well and back from injury this year. Another talented guy on a bike. But have you had to spend much time with Ando yet, mate? Or
I know Brad. I don't know him really well, but I obviously know Brad. Everyone knows Brad, don't they? So, but no, I haven't. He did a few training schools that we were involved with last year, so spoke to him a bit then. But no, I haven't. I think we've done a couple of days testing together. But yeah, He's funny. He's mad. He's not all there. But I say to him, I hope I can still ride as good as he does when I'm his age.
Yeah, well, definitely, mate. Yeah, I wouldn't mind being half a second behind him. He is phenomenal.
I think this is probably calling for get him on the next episode of the podcast. Then I reckon at some point.
Yeah, good shout. Definitely. That would be different, wouldn't it? So, I mean, as a teammate, as you said, team boss sounds like a really nice guy. I'm, and obviously he's seen something in you in your results over the last few years. I'm going to step back a little bit, because the first time I really noticed you was Matterley Basin Grand Prix, and it was when you won the JR65 team. Johnny Ray's team.
Johnny's team, yeah.
Yeah. I'm just keen, mate, as a World Superbike champion, how did that come about, mate? How did that evolve into a motocross team? We know he's a phenomenal motocross rider and schoolboy champion, but how did that come about in the beginning? I
was riding Hondas. I don't even know the year now. That's bad, isn't it? I was just doing my own. I was doing my own thing, privateer on a Honda, and I went to Northern Ireland to try the TAS bike. So I went over there to try the bike, like potentially run from the next year. And I was sat in the airport, and one of our mutual friends, Gaz Price, said, "Oh, would you be interested in speaking to Johnny? He obviously runs a team." I was like, "Yeah, definitely." And it just went from there. Johnny was involved quite a bit, and then his brother Richard used to come over to every race, fly over from Northern Ireland, and Richard's like one of the most sound guys you'll ever meet, so he was involved with it as well. And then my dad helped as well because he was obviously spanning for me at the weekend. So the three of them kind of like run. First year there was me, myself, and Wayne Garrett, and the three of them kind of run the team together. And there was Kenny, his mechanic, come over. But yeah, we just started speaking, and then I met up with him, and we did a deal, and ended up running for him for 2 years, which was really good fun. And still speak to Johnny a bit now, and speak to Richard. So they're a lovely family, and obviously so pumped that he's had so happy for him that he's had such great success, because he is a really nice guy. So
yeah, and deserves it, definitely. Did you actually ever get on track with Johnny, or just interested to look at him laughing? So there's a story coming in. Yeah,
motocross. Yeah, we did quite a bit, to be fair. I went to, before Desert Martin, I went and rode with him, stayed at his brother Richard's, and then we went riding together, motocross. And then we did quite a lot, like pre-season camps. Like this was recently, like 2 or 3 years ago in Barcelona. And Johnny's mad for his motocross. He's like, he goes so well, which is really good as well. So he was always pushing us, and he's like, some tracks he'd be like the same speed as us. We're like, really? How is he going that quick? He's a world superbike rider. He shouldn't be this quick. He shouldn't be going the same speed as us. And then and then sometimes, a few times, he had a couple of crashes, and you're like, "Oh, Johnny, don't crash. You've got more this season than just racing motocross with us."
Yeah. Well, I remember because we went to Donington to see the World Superbike once, and he'd gone riding with Leon Haslam, and Soph's decent on the tarmac, to be fair. And he crashed his motocrosser, and I literally just went over to him as a fan and said, "Oh, Johnny, I heard on what's the name that you come off and whatever. I hope it's all okay." And he went, "No, I'm all right. I'm all fine. I'm all good." Like proper promo, professional mode, like monster and all that kind of thing. Just, "Oh no, I'm perfectly all right and all fine." He walked away, could hardly walk. And I was like, okay, yeah, it's just made me laugh a little bit. But Soph's, as I say, is pretty decent on tarmac and speedway and flat tracking and all sorts. She seems to have this affinity. Have you ever been on the road, mate, track racing?
Yeah, I nearly made the switch. I can't remember how old I was. I think I was 13, I reckon. And my dad said, "What about having a go at road racing?" I said, "Yeah, okay, I'll give it a go." And got a Aprilia 125. I did a couple of races. I only did one race. I did a race at Silverstone in the Super Teams.
Yeah, Super Teams.
I just kept getting drawn to the dirt. I couldn't stay on the tarmac. I don't know. It wasn't for me, to be fair. I gave it a go and I enjoyed it. I probably wasn't old enough to appreciate the opportunity, but yeah, I'd like to have another go now. Maybe in the future I'd like to go and maybe do one of the Ron Haslam days at Donington. That'd be
Well, to be fair, that's the name of the game, I suppose, staying on the tarmac, mate. It don't help you when you're going through the scenery or whatever else. But, I mean, obviously, super teams. I mean, there's some quick guys come out of there for a start off. Casey Stoner, Chaz Davis, all come up through super teams all the way through. So there must have been some pretty decent level there, I thought. So it's like right in the deep end there, I should imagine.
Yeah, no, I didn't really know much about it, but obviously I was at the back, but it was, even riding the little 125, it scared me how quick you go on the straights.
Yeah, they are fast, them little 125s, aren't they?
Super fast. Yeah, definitely. So, right, going on to that then, I think we've done that to death. But you're still talking about a comeback onto the road bike scene then, potentially in the future, or no?
I'd like to have a go, yeah.
Yeah, just you haven't put that one to bed yet then, no?
A bit of fun, I reckon.
Once you get out on the 600s, so much better. Much better, yeah. A million times better.
Well, just want to get my knee down, really. That's all I want.
I mean, that's where that's the money shot, mate, in it, to be fair. I can remember I went on a Ron Haslam day at Donington and went round on the 600 and I thought I was going fast. Oh no, I was not. Ron Haslam came past me with one hand behind his back and made me look silly. I pulled in and said, right, I'm going home, I've had enough. It's just I think the difference for me is motocross, you believe in that front tyre and we get a lot of feedback from the front tyre as well. Whereas racing on the tarmac, there's literally nothing. You're either on or off. That's what I couldn't get my head round. And it sounds like you were about the same, mate. You didn't know what your limit was either.
No, I didn't. Not at all. And I can't believe how much you use the front brake and don't the back brake at all. So
it's mainly all front everywhere. It's horrible.
Yeah, I couldn't get my head around that at all.
No, but they are seeing, mate. You need one up here because Soph can get a knee down.
That's right.
A bit unreal.
I'll take you too.
Yeah. So how are you? Obviously, you haven't had very much seat time this year, mate, but have you got we'll find out later in a bit anyway, but have you got a preference to 250, 450? I mean, to me, and probably Soph as well, I think you look more in one with the 450. I think you've got the frame to suit it, and obviously probably sometimes after a few years MX2, wriggling its neck on the MX2 bike, going on to the MX1 bike, you think, oh my God, what's going on here? But have you got or do you not mind? Do you?
Yeah, no, I think 450 now. I probably left it too long. I should have done it a few years ago because I think it suits me. I'm too big for a 250S. But I think the 450 suits me a lot more now, and I enjoy riding it now as well. I struggled before because I used to ride my 250F and then I'd say to a mate or something, oh, let me just have a go on the 450. I had a really bad one at best thought we went practicing. I said to Elliot, let me just have a go on the 450, see how I get on. And I ended up crashing really bad. And I broke his bike. I think the pipe was bent and the rear end was bent. And I kind of said, maybe I shouldn't ride a 450 ever. But then obviously last year I got that opportunity and I think I'm a 450 rider now. Can eat a bit more as well, so.
This is true.
Yeah.
Awesome. Another thing, I had this big chat with, and I'm not going to name drop here, but Jack Bronicle, we did the Hawkson International together, and he's got this thing of, he always asks riders how he comes about, and Soph with the number 33, how did you come about with the number 66, mate? Where did that come from? And have you got a nickname or anything like that? Or?
No, there's not really a good story behind my number. That first 60 my dad bought the bike was number 67 that we bought it with. The second bike was 67. And that first race I entered, I couldn't be number 67, so I had to change the number. Instead of, it was either go one way or the other, so we went to 66. So, that was the story of my number, really.
Yeah, but it's yours.
I've not changed it. I don't think.
No, I was going to say, mate, to be fair, you probably had the opportunity to change it several times, but you've stuck with it. So it's just you now, isn't it?
I think that'll be it now. I don't think I'll be changing my number.
You're kind of you're dodging the nickname question there, though, aren't you? To see how he's sidetracked that one. Have you got one, mate, or not? Or?
No, not really. I have, but I don't think it's appropriate.
Brilliant. No, that's it then. Thanks for me.
Cool. Rolling into the Q&As then, we had a couple sent in over social media and on the website this week. This one is always a good one. This is from Charlie Jordan on Instagram, and he says, one race you've always remembered and why?
Probably, it'd be the second race at Fat Cat last year.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Just because of what it led to. So that one. How nervous I was, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say, mate. Oh, yeah, I can only imagine. But I've seen a pic. Did you whole shot first or second one? I think you had good starts.
I think I was second. I think I was second. So
yeah. So brilliant. So and obviously probably Blacksall for all the wrong reasons is another one that sticks in your head.
Yeah, that was not memorable.
Yeah. I'm going to let Soph do this next question because I'm laughing already, and I've seen it, so I'm like. Oh.
So we mentioned we had a question off Spinksy, didn't we? And he has asked if do you use the clutch when riding?
Yeah, probably too much.
Now, from what I've gathered online and what I've seen, you've got a bit of a habit of going through clutches, haven't you?
Well, you're not selling me very well to say that. I haven't told Adi at Verdi this yet. Yeah, I have a bad habit, so it's not helped getting on a 450 either because I used it to slow me down, which is probably the wrong way. Yeah, there was a bit of a running joke last year in the team with the clutches, but yeah.
Oh, there we go, Spinksy.
It's not a good habit to have anyway. It's better than smoking, so.
Yeah, well, no, definitely, mate. So, you just hard on it. Have you always been like that through your career, or I mean?
To be fair, on the MX2 bike, I probably wasn't as bad, but obviously last year getting onto the 450 and having that much more power, I literally just use it to slow me down. But yeah, it's not a good thing, is it? Really, nothing to be proud of. Especially when you're teaching kids. When you're teaching kids, and stuff, you're telling them not to use the clutch, and then use the clutch.
I just think you're brave doing it on a 450 anyway. I mean, you must be doolally to do it on a 450 anyway. I mean, God, mate, how much power going through there. One of the things that we always ask as well in the Q&A session is quite often we get asked any riding tips for some of the noobs out there, as my little boy says. No, Dad, you've got to say noob. Any tips out there that you give, obviously from your coaching side, just to help them progress, mate? Because we always get different angles from different riders. I
think one of the things that goes unrecognised, one of the points in riding that goes unrecognised is always looking ahead. A lot of people, I find, especially when watching and doing training, everyone's looking at the front mudguard when they just pick their head up and look ahead and look where they want to go. It helps quite a bit. So always try and get people to just lift their chin up, and sometimes looking around the corner will help a bit more than just looking right in front of you. So always got taught, especially in road racing, going back to that as well, wherever you want to look, where you want to go, kind of thing. So always try and get that little one in when I'm doing a bit of teaching.
I even did this to myself yesterday because I went out on the mountain bike and I was going down one of the runs. I was like, look round the corner, because all I was doing was looking at the hedge. I was like, I'm going in there in a minute.
End up in the hedge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that gets you out of so much trouble all of the time. So very, very valid point, mate, as well. Nothing about clutch use then? No, you do want to add to that? No, you're all fine. No, just don't use it. No.
I should have just not acknowledged that question.
No.
Should have just denied it. Right then, I think let's roll into the quick fire round. Now, we have 5 questions, and I want you to say the first thing that comes into your head. So, the more you hesitate, the worse it is, all right?
Because we'll question you then.
Okay, so first one, Honda or KTM?
Honda.
2-stroke or 4-stroke?
2-stroke.
Hawkstone or Canada Heights?
Canada Heights.
250 or 450?
450.
British or MX Nationals?
British.
That was a close one.
To be fair, that was the biggest pause we've had off everybody so far, mate. You took that in there for a minute, wouldn't you? But we're going to put a time limit on this or something.
I know.
The last one was tough because MX Nationals do such a good job now.
I know. That was a bit mean of me, to be fair. I did put those together.
Don't want to offend anyone.
No. Well, when I read it through earlier on, I was kind of half cringing at that one, thinking, okay.
Ah, well.
Hence, she don't care, mate.
It's all a bit of fun, Darren. That's
no, it is. It's great. And, we like to beat people on the spot as well. It's great.
This is true. So I think that'll probably round it up then for episode 8 of the Live Motocross podcast. Lewis, thanks so much for joining us from your kitchen.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I've missed them. I don't have to put them to bed either, so.
Got to get out of bedtime duties.
Yeah. So anyway, mate, what are you going to do about this fabled 9th, 8th places?
I don't know. Hopefully this year we can have a good one, and I don't know. I'm hoping top 5. So.
Yeah, I hope so, mate. You definitely, the speed's all there. Everything's all in place, isn't it now? The bike's underneath you, so there's as good a chance as any once we hit the dirt, hopefully fairly sooner rather than later. Let's hope for July the 1st, is it? They're talking about it at the minute?
Yeah, I heard. I think that's going to hopefully start racing somewhere around then. So hopefully we get Max's calendar and we'll get going. So
the biggest problem with this is going to be the British public, unfortunately, and the common sense or lack of it, which might put us into lockdown. Hope that doesn't happen for all the right reasons, obviously. And let's get back on track as soon as fingers crossed, mate.
There we are.
Cool.
So that rounds up.
Thanks for having me on.
No problem. That rounds up episode 8 of the Live Motocross podcast. Make sure you subscribe to us on Acast, iTunes, wherever you listen to your podcasts, and join us next week where we'll be chatting to actually, I'm going to leave that one there. I'm not going to drop it in just yet, even though Darren's looking at me funny. Join us next week where we've got another special guest.
No matter how hard we